Hey everyone, so a couple weeks ago I asked you all for some questions for a 1-year channelversary Q&A, and today I'm going to be answering those questions. So I realized a little bit late in the process that it was going to take a lot longer to answer questions than I thought it was going to, so while I won't be able to get to every single question that was asked, I am going to try to get to most of them, especially the ones that were asked multiple times. Before I jump into the specific questions, I do just want to note a couple general things across the board. So I got a lot of questions about my bias groups and about my favorite groups in general, and I will answer the specific questions that I got, but if you have any other questions about those, I will link down in the description the video I made a few months ago where I listed my bias groups and my favorite groups. It is slightly out of date at this point, but it is mostly correct, so I will link that down in the description. Last thing before jumping into the questions, definitely if you want to know my opinions on stuff in general, follow me on Twitter. I've talked about a few of these things that I'm going to be talking about in this video on Twitter, but not in videos yet. So if you are in general curious about my opinions on stuff, follow me on Twitter. I'm on there a lot. All right, on to the specific questions. So I got a couple questions about what year I got into K-pop and who or what group got me into K-pop. Believe it or not, I actually didn't get into K-pop until early to mid 2017. I know. I'd actually listened to a tiny bit of K-pop before because of some of my college friends and because of YouTube in general, and of course, Oppan Gangnam Style. But essentially, a podcast that I love kept recommending The Genius, which is a Korean strategy reality competition show where the contestants of the show are all Korean celebrities. I was super intrigued and ended up falling completely in love with the show. It's currently my favorite TV show, and one of my favorite players on season 1 was a K-pop idol, and that K-pop idol was Kim Sung-gyu, aka the leader and main vocalist of Infinite.
그리고 최고 인기 아이돌 인피니트의 성규군
전교 2등까지 했었다는. 진짜로요? 중학교 때.
전교 2등이라는 프로필을 가지고 있군요.
Initially, I actually checked out Infinite and thought they were just alright, but upon a rewatch of The Genius in May 2017, I looked them up again and fell down the rabbit hole. I fell in love with them, their music, and their variety shows, so Sungyu and The Genius in general are essentially why I'm into K-pop today. A couple people also asked me what made me want to start a YouTube channel. And just in general, I'm a pretty creative person. Even from when I was really little, I've always had tons of ideas going around in my head, like all the time. And I'm also online and on YouTube 24/7, and I've dabbled in making videos a bit in the past, and everything just kind of came together last year when the unhelpful guide trend started. More and more of these guides kept being made, and there just still wasn't one for Infinite. So I thought, screw it, I'll make one for Infinite. And I started the channel in August, and I finally uploaded the video in September. So next up, what groups do I stan? Do I stan any underrated groups? And do I like Stray Kids? Again, for any more details, I will point you to my favorite groups video, but since it is a little bit outdated, I'll list off my bias groups really quickly. So my ults are Day6, GOT7, Infinite, BAP, and Pentagon, and any subunits that are floating around in there. And I also bias 17, Monsta X, VIX, BTS, Dreamcatcher, and Stray Kids. So yes, I do like Stray Kids quite a lot. Personally, I don't think any of those groups that I stan are really underrated, but there are several underrated groups that I do really love. Which brings me to my next question, which is, what groups do you recommend that are underrated? Again, I recently made a video with underrated song recommendations, and I highlighted several groups within that video, but to bring up the ones that I like the most from that, it's probably InSonic, Snooper, Marmello, Map6, and Mask. A couple others are Laboom and Boys Republic, but those are a little bit slightly less underrated than the ones I already listed. A couple people also asked who my bias is in K-pop and why, and I do plan on making a video very soon on my top 20 male biases in K-pop, so keep an eye out for that. But I do have 3 ults, and those are Jinyoung from GOT7, Brian from Day6, and Jay from Day6. And it would really take too long to explain individually why I love each of them, so I will just link you down in the description to videos that I've made on each of them, because those definitely explain it better than I could in words right now. I don't have a definitive female ult, but I do really love Jimin from 15 and, Honey from EXID, and Amber from FX, or just as a solo artist now, I guess. What is my favorite K-pop song? I kind of feel like I shove this song in everyone's faces all the time, but roll the song! How did I get into GOT7? I actually got into them in the least interesting way possible. Through YouTube recommended videos. They kept popping up on all of the Infinite videos I was watching, and at first I didn't really have a strong opinion on them one way or the other, but then I heard If You Do, and I completely fell down the rabbit hole. I got several questions about ships in GOT7, like, do I have any, or do I prefer JJ Project or Mark Jin or Jensen? So I don't literally ship any of them. I always feel weird about shipping real people. That said, my favorite pairings in the group are JJ Project, Yogbam, Pepikyum, and Jensen. What do I think about Lullaby by GOT7? I love it so much. Definitely top 5 GOT7 title tracks for me, possibly higher. Honestly, I think it's one of their best comebacks. Lullaby or Look? Sweet, talk to me, babe. It's magical. Who's my bias wrecker in GOT7? Jackson. Was I born in the same year as any GOT7 members? Yes, I am the same age as... The next one is a bit of a fun one. Which GOT7 member would I want as my brother, my best friend, and my boyfriend? I feel like everyone's gonna be super confused by this answer because I'm not about to mention Jinyoung for any of these. Yeah, I know. Also, I wanted to note that I'm not someone who thinks about like wanting to date an idol. It's just generally not the way I think about idols. So this was actually pretty hard. Anyway, the easiest one by far is brother. I legit want Yugyeom to be my little brother. He's a bit of a pest, but like in the endearing way. I definitely have the same type of relationship with him that he has with Jinyoung. And then after that, I wanted to choose the same person for both best friend and boyfriend, but for the sake of choosing 3 different people, I just put him as my best friend, and that is JB. So I know I put a lot of stock in Myers-Briggs types, but over half of my close friends are INFJs, and that says a lot given that it's the rarest personality type. It's a type I vibe really well with as an INTP, and JB is an INFJ. On top of that, I just think he's someone I'd get along really well with. And then for boyfriend, I went with Mark. He's chill, he's quiet, he's sweet, he shares my punny sense of humor. I think we'd get along all right. But like I said, I generally don't think of idols in those terms. Favorite Day6 song? Again, this is one I think I shoved down everyone's throats, but roll the song. Would you rather be in a J6 vlog or go shopping with Wonpil? J6 vlog. Shopping with Wonpil would be super great, but it would be so awesome to be in a J6 vlog, especially since, you know, he's my ult. Do you listen to any Infinite songs? And if so, what are your top 3 favorites? So, yes, I do listen to Infinite. If you want my full ranking of their title tracks, I updated my ranking last week and that will be linked in the cards, but my top 3 Infinite songs are... Any successful bias wreckers? Honestly, it took me a second to understand what this meant, like bias wreckers that have become my bias. And actually, yes, there have been 2 kind of. The first one is JB from GOT7, who was originally just a bias wrecker and is now my second bias, but like he still hasn't overtaken Jinyoung, so like kind of. But there is a recent one. For the longest time, Yuto was just my bias wrecker in Pentagon, but then I added him to my biases alongside Hongsuk and Changwoo, and then he overtook Hongsuk, and honestly, he might have even overtaken Changwoo at this point. I don't know. He might be my #1 bias in Pentagon. He might have beaten Changwoo. I don't know. Either way, I love Yuto. He's one of my biases now. He's definitely overtaken Hongsuk. I love him. The next question is songs that I recommend to new Day6, GOT7, and Dreamcatcher fans. So for each of these, I think the title tracks are already pretty obvious, so I'm just going to go with B-sides for each of these groups, leaning towards ones that are less well known, and I'm going to give a few a piece based on taste. So for Day6, I will always recommend But if you like slower, more emotional songs, and if you're into more up-tempo stuff, but also they did just literally 2 days ago release their first Japanese album, and all of the songs are amazing. Definitely go check them out. So for GOT7, obviously I use Teenager in all my videos, so that's one of my favorite B-sides. You make me think. You make me think. If you're into slow stuff, go for I just wanna kill. Hey girl, let me hold your hand. If you're looking for something more hype, for straight up catchy songs, so for Dreamcatcher, they have a much smaller discography, but I really like the B-sides on Prequel. What are my top 3 comebacks of the year so far? I'm going to talk about comebacks overall, not my favorite title track specifically. So #1 was going to be Day6's Youth Part 1, but then Day6 released their Unlock Japanese album, and every single song on it is perfect. So even though it's a Japanese release, I'm going with Unlock, and Youth Part 1 can be #2. And then rounding off the top 3, kind of surprising me, is Stray Kids' I Am Who. That was just a really solid mini album. But to give you 3 groups rather than just Day6, 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 I would also say Pentagon's Positive is really good, and also Triple H's Retrofuturism was really good. Even though it was only 3 songs, all 3 were amazing. Next question, what do I think of Twice? I like Twice. Their music is kinda hit or miss for me though. Do I think they're these super talented, amazing singers? Not especially. But I'm also not about to criticize their vocals based on a bad MR removed video or 2. I'm not someone who thinks that vocal ability is the most important thing in a group. Obviously, it holds quite a bit of importance, but it's something I'm willing to see past if the music is good. And like I said, Twice is kind of hit or miss for me. I'm not a huge fan of their Japanese songs, but Cheer Up is one of my favorite K-pop songs, and there are a lot of other songs by them that I like. Do I know WJSN, or I think their other name is Cosmic Girls? And if I do, what do I think about Save Me, Save You? So yes, I do know of them. Probably any group that's not super, super underrated, I've heard of them, and I've listened to a song or 2 of them. I don't actively listen to them, but like I said, I have heard most of their title tracks. I don't have a super strong opinion on them one way or the other, and that's kind of the same for Save Me, Save You. I really, really like the music video though. The whole magic school concept is super cool, and I really love the aesthetic of the music video, but the song is just fine for me. What is a song that I love that everyone else hates? I'm not sure about such strong love versus hate, but I will insert some songs here that I really love that are kind of polarizing. What do I think of Idol by BTS? To be honest, I was actually kind of disappointed at first. I didn't think it was a bad song necessarily, but it just wasn't really what I wanted from them at that moment. That said, the more I see people hating it, the more I feel like I need to defend it, I guess, because I don't think it's a bad song. I just think it's a little bit different for them, and I think that it's kind of quirky and that a lot of people dislike it because it's a little bit different for them, and it just makes me feel like I need to defend it even if it's not one of my personal favorites by them. What do I think of the Cube, Pentagon, E'Dawn, Hyuna scandal? Oh boy. So I'm recording this about 24 hours after Hyuna officially left Cube, so yes, I do know about that. I understand that the punishment of potentially getting fired didn't come from the fact that they were dating, but rather the fact that they announced that they were dating right after Cube said that they were not dating. Cube basically saw this as Hyuna and E'Dawn going behind their back. But I think something that's kind of being overlooked here is that Cube flat out lied and denied that the relationship existed. There's also nothing in Hyuna and E'Dawn's contract saying that they couldn't date. Cube could have avoided a lot of this drama by just consulting with their artists about how to address this before making a statement and lying about it. Cube just handled this really poorly, and I think that if they hadn't lied about the relationship, they wouldn't potentially be losing two of their artists. Sure, it was probably a bad business decision for Hyuna and E'Dawn to announce their relationship. I will fully admit that. But can you really blame them for not wanting to flat out lie to their fans? Simply not talking about the relationship is one thing, but straight up denying it exists when it does is actual lying versus just not talking about it. I don't know, I just really think Cube messed this one up from the very beginning, and I think the majority of the blame falls on them. I'm going to miss Hyuna, I'm going to miss Triple H, I hope that she is so much happier, and I'm also hopeful that the fact that E'Dawn hasn't said anything and Cube hasn't said anything about him means there's still a chance that he's going to end up back with Pentagon, because although I don't want him stuck in this terrible company, I do want him to be back with his boys because I know that they all love each other a whole lot and support each other, and I think that that group that's loving and supportive is a good place for E'Dawn, even if Cube in general might not be. I also got a couple of questions about whether I've been to any K-pop concerts and if I have any advice for beginners. So I have not gotten the chance to go to a K-pop concert yet. I haven't been in the right place at the right time yet, so I haven't been able to go to one. That said, I have been to other concerts in the past, so just some general advice. Please be safe and careful above everything else. Don't go by yourself, go with someone else. Concerts are usually at night, so you don't want to be wandering around late at night all by yourself. So this next question I got is one that the person said I could ignore because they realized I made a whole video about it, but like no one has seen this video. It's an older one, and it's also one that has very few views, so I'm going to answer it anyway. So the question is, what idol do I think has the most similar personality to me? And in my Characterize Me video, I talked about different character traits from idols that I related with, and then at the end I listed 3 idols that I felt like I most related to, and I'm gonna talk about those now. And I will link the video in the cards if you want to see more stuff about that. But the ones that I feel like I relate to the most overall are Infinite's Myungsu, Pentagon's Yuto, and BTS's RM. If I were to make a K-pop group or band, what would I call it, and what would be the fandom name plus lightstick? So I really like one-word names, and if I were to make a group or band, probably a band, I would want to go for a dark concept, or like not necessarily spooky, but like more of a horror concept, kind of like a band, but with like Dreamcatcher's horror concepts. Anyway, I'd want to name it something like, I guess, Midnight, because it's dark and kind of spooky, and the fandom name could be something like Stars, because midnight there are stars, and then the light stick could be like a wand with a star at the end. This is like the least creative thing I've ever come up with. This is so basic, but like I'm kind of super into it. Someone get on this. The next question is, if I could choose any number of musicians to collaborate on a song, who would I choose and why? and it's not just strictly K-pop, it can be any genre. First of all, this was asked by my friend Elizabeth, who is awesome. She also makes K-pop videos, so I will link her channel down in the description. Anyway, I am going to be sticking mostly to K-pop since that's the majority of what I listen to these days, but I'll throw in one American artist because they're just too good. So I'd want the music to be written by a combination of Woozy and Day6. Lyrics by Brian, obviously. Then the arrangement I would want to be done by Pentatonics because they're amazing at arranging songs. Their arrangements are always bomb. So Pentatonics. And as for performing, I'd kind of want a weird mix. I would definitely want Day6 on it because I'd want like that rock vibe. Like I'm combining Day6 and Woozy because I want a rock song, but like with some of Woozy's like funky aspects thrown in. I don't know, it could be cool. But also on top of Day6 performing, I think I'd also want Pentatonics to sing on it, and I definitely want a solid Brian rap verse because it's been a while since he's gotten a rhythmically interesting rap. Also, throw in Jin Young because I love his voice. I don't know. I thought about this for so long and I don't have like a definitive decision, but those are like the people I'm thinking about. If I could spend 3 days with my alt group, who would it be and why and what would we do? I think this might be a surprise to everyone because I think everyone's expecting me to say GOT7 right now, and I'm not going to say GOT7. I'm way too chill for GOT7. I love them and I would love to hang out with them, but if I were to spend 3 whole days with one of my alt groups, I'd choose Day6. They're super weird and silly, but on a more chill level than GOT7. Like GOT7 would be the ones running and screaming, while Day6 are more likely to just be sitting and joking and laughing. And that's more my vibe. I think I would want to spend like 1 day or part of a day like in the studio with them, seeing them practice and seeing how they record and stuff like that. Another day just kind of hanging out. And I'd also want the 3rd day to be like an amusement park, just so Brian and I could laugh at everyone else freaking out. We would drag Sungjin and Wonpil on a roller coaster. It would happen. And then Dawn would cry again, and Jay would be kind of nervous. And Brian and I would just be laughing. It'd be great. Can I speak more than one language? And second question, can I speak Korean? So English is the only language that I can speak completely fluently. That said, I'm also pretty proficient in Spanish. I had Spanish nearly every single year of school starting in 1st grade, not exaggerating. I was in Spanish club in 3rd and 4th grade. I really wish that US schools took second language learning more seriously, because even though I took it every year apart from my senior year of high school, elementary school was just the basics, and there were a lot of restarts for seemingly no reason. If I'd actually learned new things every year, I honestly think I could be fluent at this point. Anyway, my freshman year of college, I took 2 final semesters of Spanish and was deemed proficient by my college. I read Spanish pretty well and I understand a lot while listening to it, but speaking it or writing it definitely takes a bit of time. I have to laugh every time I get a comment from someone in Spanish and they're saying, "Oh, I don't think you can read this, but I'll comment it anyway." And I'm like, "Oh no, I do." So yeah, if you leave me a comment in Spanish, I probably understand like 90% of it. There's probably a couple words in there I won't get, but like I'll get the general gist of it at the very least. As for Korean, I am at a beginner level. I started learning Korean before I got into K-pop when I was just watching The Genius. I listen to Talk to Me in Korean, and I have an app that I like to use, but I'm not good at consistency. I want to get back in the habit of working on it every morning because language learning is something that's legitimately fun for me. I don't know. I find languages interesting. And here we are, the last question, and also the only question where I don't have any notes on it at all. And that question is, do you enjoy making videos, and if so, what's your favorite part? Let me let you in on a little insider secret. I am the absolute worst person in the world when it comes to forcing myself to do things that I don't want to do. If I'm not motivated to do something, I will not do it. If I don't want to do something, I will not do it unless something bad will happen if I don't do it, like schoolwork. So the fact that I'm here making videos once or twice a week, every week, with an actual schedule in place that I try to stick to pretty much every week. This week was an exception, my bad. That is a testament to how much I love this and how much I enjoy making videos and how much I enjoy sharing those videos with you all. Like I've said a couple times in this video, I am an inherently very creative person. It's my favorite thing to do, and the fact that I can create something and put it out into the world and see all of you loving it, that is my favorite part. My favorite part is being able to see your reactions and seeing when you guys really love a video that I've made. It's just very heartwarming to know that something that I put a ton of time and energy and love into is so well received by other people who also love the same groups and the same music as me. It's a really heartwarming thing. And yes, I'm getting sappy on this one, which is very rare for me. I'm not a very sappy person, but I love this so much. And like I said, I would not be here once or twice every single week if I didn't love this. I'm not a super emotional person, but I am a very passionate person. When I care about something, I care about it with my entire self, my entire being. I care too much generally, and that's kind of me with this. I care a lot, I love it a lot, and I wouldn't be here if I didn't love it a lot. I would not be here consistently if it wasn't something that I absolutely love doing. So that's the last question. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but it took me over an hour to record it, so hopefully I can get it down to a length that is actually listenable for you guys. I'm so sorry if it ends up being super long. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Anyway, that is all for this video. Like I said, I've been recording this for like an hour, so my voice is about to give out, and so I am gonna go. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for supporting me over the past year. No matter how you've supported me, whether it's watching a video, liking a video, commenting on anything, whether you just got here today or whether you've been here for the past year, thank you. Thank you for enjoying what I do. Thank you for supporting what I do. I love it, and I hope to continue doing this for a long time to come.